Hello everyone, welcome to the Mode Pod. I am your host, Anari Jaja, also known as ASJ. The Mode Pod is an educational podcast that is aimed at transforming the mindset of society for the intention of personal growth and national growth. So I hope you enjoy season 1 of the Mode Pod, and thank you all for walking this journey with me. Enjoy the show. All my love, ASJ. One of Africa's largely underestimated areas of human existence is the area of mental health and mindfulness. To educate us on the workings of the mind and how best to manage our mental health, we have a medical practitioner and a therapist of great repute. Join me to welcome the phenomenal Dr. Bright Oris. Welcome, Dr. Bright.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here. So just to start, can you tell us a bit about yourself and what you do?
Not much. I'm a medical doctor, author, relationship counselor. I manage a mental health treatment facility here in Abuja.
Okay. What's it called?
Olive Prime Premium Psychological Services.
Nice. So what do you do?
Okay, so basically we do full option mental health treatment.
Okay.
Outpatient, inpatient, treatment for substance use disorders, for mental illnesses, schizophrenia, bipolar, psychosis, and all the various forms. We do assessments for mental health disorders, ADHD, learning disabilities in children. We do screenings for that. Host of other things, psychotherapy, treatment of anxiety, depression, stress, and all of that. So if you think about anything like mental health, yes,
the hub,
yeah,
for it. Fantastic. Please, at some point, in fact, we're going to put the details of what you do because it's important that we have your details out there because a lot of people need it.
Yes.
A lot of people need it. Even myself, I need it. I will not lie to you.
Actually, I think World Health Organization said that 1 in every 5 people, in fact, 1 in every 5 to 8 people have one mental health challenge, one common mental health challenge like anxiety or depression.
Yes.
So even without needing to, count,
yes,
if there are up to 8 people here, just trust me, at least one person has depression, anxiety, one of them. 100%.
And as we're talking about the mind and mental health, which is really the focus of why we're here. So it's really important that we understand the importance of checking our mental health and everything. And like you said 1 out of 8 people in a room have mental health disorder.
Yes,
it is what it is. The problem now is the fact that in Nigeria, I don't know if it's Africa, but I know in Nigeria that people associate mental health disorder to madness. It's just recently that there's more awareness on the fact that, there are other things like anxiety that is not necessarily madness. And again, I need you to explain this to me. Is madness such a bad thing? It's just the madness, is it the language of it that is so bad? But what does madness mean, right? And then how is that different from somebody having a mental breakdown, right? I know that there are different types of mental illness, like you said, psychosis, bipolar, anxiety, depression, So what is the difference between madness and then mental health? Even addiction is a mental health disorder, right?
Yes.
So what is the difference between madness and those mental health disorder?
Okay, so the word, I don't know why people say madness, there is no, it's a slow word, right? So it's not, you shouldn't even use that to describe, a health condition. So when people say madness, what they actually mean is someone manifesting psychosis or some psychotic disorder, like either hallucinating or, having delusions, having, inappropriate, abnormal behavior. So that is what people say this person is, quote unquote madness, but that's someone experiencing some psychotic symptoms.
Yeah.
So we don't use the word madness. We don't use the word mad. That is slur word. It's inappropriate to actually use.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for that, because it's really important that we actually get that out there.
Yes.
And the fact that somebody is suffering from or has a psychosis disorder does not necessarily mean that they are less. I think it's our management, because so let's say worst case scenario, we refer it or we link it to people that are walking on the road, picking dirt and all of that, right? Is that a result of poor management of the person experiencing psychosis?
Yeah, so those are vagrants. So an unmanaged and untreated psychotic disorder, the person might, become vagrants. That is just walking along the road, picking dirt. There's poor hygiene. So most of those people, I would say some of them have, some mental health, disorders, for example, schizophrenia, right? There was a man that explained something one time. He was asked, he was brought to, a mental health treatment center. And after he was stable, he was asked, Oga, what happened? He said he doesn't know. He went out, he wanted to go to the bank, and before he knew it, and he was in one part of Lagos, before he knew it, he was on a fit trekking in Ogun State, somewhere far away. And he said he doesn't even know how he got there. Okay. So it was very, you could see that this person isn't even aware of what is going on with him. And it's like, I can't believe, I don't understand what happened, right? I just felt like I should just keep walking.
Yes.
And I just kept walking. So when you see maybe someone that is experiencing the psychotic break, taking off the clothes, and, it's because they feel something strong that you have to take off your clothes. Yes. And then they do that. They feel something strong that, okay, you have to just start walking. Yeah. And they do that, right?
And they have moments when they come back.
Yes, sometimes. So if it's unmanaged, if it's untreated, it gets worse, right? But if it's treated, if it's managed, the person becomes a lot more functional. Yeah. Also, depending on how long the person has lived without treatment, also that plays a role. Oh.
So there's just so much that we have to learn on the mind and how the mind works and how to manage it.
Yes.
And then, but while we're on that, just to clarify, right, or just to do like a preliminary baby steps.
Okay.
I want to ask, so reasonable questions in this question, and one that might seem weird. It's not like it's unreasonable, but it might just seem a bit weird. Well, so the question I want to ask you first is that, first, what is the mind?
Okay.
Where is it located? And how does it work?
Okay, so what is the mind? Let me start with where is it located first, because if you ask, where is your mind located, they are likely going to point here like this, brain. The mind is an overall manifestation of a person's emotions, will, sensations, beliefs, and all of that. So that's the entire manifestation. That's the mind. Can
I interrupt you?
Please go ahead.
Please. This thing you just said, that is it in a book or do we need to write it down?
It is actually.
Okay.
So it's an overall manifestation of a person's being, will, emotions, sensations, beliefs, ideas. That is the mind. Yes, a lot of time people will point to the brain because this is higher function. Yes. This is where those things go on. Yes. But the mind is not located there. It's just like when you feel, some things. People say, I feel it here, I feel it there. But it's actually your brain sending sensations, interpreting these sensations. So naturally, you would naturally point the brain for every single thing you feel, right? Yes. So it's here. When you're eating food and you're enjoying the taste, you're supposed to be saying, yes. Not, yes. Because it's the brain that is interpreting all of this. The tongue's feeling, So the mind is just that manifestation of who you are. Who are you? What are your ideas? What are your thoughts? Right? That's why you hear stuff like, what is going on in your mind? So referring to what are your ideas? What are your thoughts?
What have you what are the things that you've consumed that form you?
Yes.
What are the things that you've, from consumption as per food, to consumption as per what you listen to what you read, to where you went to school, to the kind of home you grew up in, everything that makes you you.
Yes. And how you express,
that.
So is in that seat of expression is where the mind comes in.
Wow. Fantastic. So that is the mind, that is location, and that is how it works.
Location is everywhere and nowhere.
Everywhere and nowhere.
Yes.
Fantastic. It's such a powerful, we can't even call it an organ. It's such a powerful thing. And, I'm a spiritual person, and I believe that the mind is the consciousness of where God sits.
Okay.
Right? I feel like, and which is something I think maybe we would delve into at some point, but let's leave that.
Okay.
Let's leave that to when we get there.
No problem.
So I want us to find out again, right? What are the common causes of mental health breakdown?
Mental health breakdown. So common causes, stress is at the top of that list. So when a person is feeling extremely overwhelmed, the person can have a breakdown where the person's body begins to, physically or mind, you say physically or, react to overwhelming stressors. So when a person is unable to manage stressors, we call that breakdown, right? It could be normal stressors of life. It could be, extra or, different causes of different stressors. And then the person is unable to function, do daily activities, function the way they're supposed to. At their baseline, then we say, okay, this person has a breakdown. So what are the causes? Stress being at the top of it. Yeah. Feeling overwhelmed. Physical ailments can cause that breakdown because it affects a person's mental states. So stress is really at the top of that. Stress in all its forms. It could be financial stress, relationship stress, work stress, family stress. Anyhow you put it, stress in all its forms is the leading actual cause of mental breakdown. So
it's actually very profound. It makes sense how stress can be a great cause of all these mental health breakdowns. But I wanted to find out, addiction.
Okay.
Would you classify that as a mental health breakdown?
Addiction breakdown? No. So addiction is defined as a chronic relapsing brain disease. So addiction is a disease. It's a brain disease that is characterized by compulsive substance seeking and use despite harmful consequences. Okay. That is addiction. So there is a behavior around the substance that, that there's a criteria actually for saying someone is addicted to something. So it's that chronic relapsing brain disease that there's some level of compulsion to use a substance despite knowing how the substance would either physically or psychologically affect the person.
Yeah, because I know that I saw one of your videos when you were talking about addiction to cigarettes and all of that.
Okay.
I pay attention. But so even while we talk about that, when people delve into these things that are harmful for them, do you think that there's an underlying cause for why somebody, or do you think it's just leisure? Or do you think there's an underlying cause that could be stress related, like from sort of unhappiness or something that would make people want to delve into these substances that are bad for them and then get addicted to it?
Okay. So there's what we call maladaptive coping mechanisms. This is when people use different things to manage their stress, to cope with stress. So if the person uses psychoactive substance, let's say alcohol, cigarettes, marijuana, cocaine, retinol, codeine, all of those psychoactive substances, if they use those to manage their stress, to manage, some stressors, to manage themselves, because those substances are addictive, they can start depending on those substances to manage themselves. And of course, it leads to addiction. So it's the way of trying to cope using a substance that now creates that risk that a person develops an addiction to that particular substance.
Yes. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
And so, to be better people, what would be your recommendations for how one can better manage, stress in general? Like, as opposed to going to finding substances to help you, how do you manage stress? And those people too that are battling with one mental health challenge or the other, what would be your recommendation for how they can better manage these things?
Okay, so first, we want to isolate or identify the stressors.
Okay.
Everybody's stressors is different.
Yeah.
Is it a financial stressor?
Mm-hmm.
Is it adverse life, experience? For example, you lost a job. Mm-hmm. You lost a loved one. Your loved one was diagnosed of a chronic or medical condition, or terminal condition like cancer, and it's affecting you. Could it just be that you are overwhelmed with work, right? Or your inability to meet your goals, right? So we want to identify those triggers, those stressors, first and foremost. Then we'll start talking about the coping mechanisms for those stressors. So without identifying those stressors, right, it will be difficult. For example, if one of your stressors is your relationship with your family members, we'll have to be able to identify and tackle it.
Yes.
Because effectively addressing those stressors, it helps for you not to need maladaptive coping mechanisms to manage it. So identifying and addressing the stressors is the first step. So it's not usually generic. It's not like general.
Yes.
Right? So individually identify these stressors.
Yes.
What are these stressors? What are these stressors that I'm experiencing? Am I able to manage it? There are people that the same traffic they are in, they can't function.
Yes.
They lose it when they're in traffic. When they do not get where they're going to, they could break things.
Yeah.
When they receive bad news, they are unable to handle it.
Yes.
So we want to identify what is really causing you stress that makes you feel that you need this to manage it. So if we are able to identify those stressors, then we are one step, in the process of helping that person manage their lives better.
Do you think that a lot of people that are facing high levels of stress, anxiety, depression, or any other mental, do you think that people are not willing to identify even anger? I don't know. I think the expression of anger in itself is a mental health challenge, right? That's why they have anger management centers, right? But sometimes people don't even know what is the cause of their stress, like what makes them like that. So do you think, is this something that's always so hard to identify? Or is it something that if you just think about it, you'd figure it out? So
I think it takes a lot of exploration, finding out how the person even grew up, early childhood history. What was the situation around the family, growing up, the environment the person grew up, right? These can be contributing factors to how a person manages things. If the person grew up in an environment that there was very little tolerance, right? It means the person could easily just flare out, when they meet an uncomfortable situation, an uncomfortable place, things that are not it would have been easy to manage if they didn't grow up in such environments. So for this, we want to go back to the person's belief systems, early childhood history, how they grew up, what they actually believe about life.
Yes.
Right? Because it goes a long way to tell how this person will react or manage different stressors of life.
Yes.
So we want to go back to that place. What do you really believe about life in itself? Growing up, how do you tackle challenges? You give two children, let's say a Rubik's Cube.
Yes.
And one is trying to do and is enjoying the process. Another one, because it's difficult to get it, they smash it.
Yes.
Right. So you want to find out if this person grew up like this, where they want instant gratification as opposed to delayed gratification. How this person grew up. Early childhood history is extremely important.
That's very fantastic, Dr. But there's so much that I want to explore on this early childhood and all of that. But we'll go on a short break and we'll be right back.
No problem.